And last but definitely not least, the paper that is going to be presented is titled How and Why to Protect Operational Technology Systems by Mr. Antonio Mario Durante, Head of Space and Defense Development Support Services in RINA Consulting, and Mr. Giorgio Gentil, Manager for Software Engineering. And for that, we have Mr. Naseem Kuzhimayil that is going to present it. Mr. Kuzhimayil is Business Development Manager at RINA. He has done an MBA in Operations Management, a Bachelor's Technology in Mechanical Engineer. He also holds certifications in ISO 9001, Lead Auditor, ICL, Certified Container Inspector, and Basic Offshore Safety Induction and Emergency Training. Before joining RINA, he has worked with Technip, Petroskill Ventures, Green Palm Marine Consultants. So with that, please join me and give a round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, my colleagues Antonio and Giorgio was not able to come here because this time their duties denied that. They send their warm regards to all of you. Let me start with the topic. It's been discussed by my previous presenters. So we are well aware, not only in the ship or maritime industry, as a whole industry, we need the security to the systems. Not only for the IT systems, but the integrated OT systems, operational technology systems. We can see many examples of attack into the OT systems, like we have news around the globe from previous years. For exactly, it started with the OT systems in 2010 at the recorded one, and it was actually affected to Siemens system. Sorry, I'll come to that. Before that, let me give a brief introduction what OT system. OT system is everywhere nowadays. OT systems is integrated with IT. That means we have, for example, automation or Internet of Things, or many other things are coming in the new revolution. We can call it as a revolution in the whole industry. I'm not only focusing on the maritime sector, but also the other industries. So how it works in a ship, for example, we will have a computer center, then we have different coordination units. From there it goes to the machinery, and the actuation microcontroller will be there. Then it goes to ship and the respective machinery. So all these nodes are vulnerable to attacks, and it can cost many things. But before we go in detail to how we affect these things, earlier these integrated control systems were more secure because it was not connected to IT or the cyber world. It was merely a protected and isolated system. So it has been operated by a resource who is very handy to do that. And the tasks were so simple, and the system was operated inside the purposed place. Now the scenario has changed. We have to integrate all these operation technology systems to internet, and to save money, save time, and to track real time. All this purpose, we require these OT systems to be combined with IT. And To be specific, the attacker to the OT system will be as good as the developer of the system. So they will know whole phases of the system, and they will be able to make an attack if they have some vulnerability find out in the system. So it was, earlier I mentioned the Stuxnet was the first ransomware to attack the Siemens Step 7 software. Actually, the background was recorded as it was an attack against Iran's nuclear project, and the Siemens Step 7 software was used there. So it's been badly attacked by this ransomware, and was likely to be initiated by a USB stick of an operator or an engineer. So if we go to the OT operator are unlike to IT operator. They are specifically skilled for this. They have good knowledge about the system, and they are only focusing on their process. Like in a ship or a plant, in a ship, for example, chief engineer, he is only responsible for the entire process of the engine room and the auxiliary systems, and he only want to manage that, and he want to control, and he want to know how about that particular system. But on the other hand, IT world is dynamic. More revolutions are coming. It is not like we stick on to one thing for many years. It keeps changing. So this fast pace and interconnection, multi-purpose, all these kind of peculiarities to the IT world opens the vulnerability to an attacker to plan some kind of attack to the IT system. So most of the OT systems attacks have been identified through the IT system. Then on the other hand, IT user is not necessarily skilled. So the attack can be possible through them, and it's like they only know the system, IT system. They don't know about the OT system which are connected to the IT. So this leads a gap between the IT and OT. This leads to attacks. So as I mentioned, digitalization is considered as the new industrial revolution. Now, if we go, for example, as an industry, if we go to the concept of Industry 4.0, it is basically the integration of OT systems with the IT. So in India, it's been proposed by many companies, as I can see from the recent publications. Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited and other companies are going to implement this platform in their plants. But there are funding and the support available in European Union level. I'm not sure about India, but I searched a little bit, but I didn't get any policy on that. Then it is like high potential, since it will be enhanced by the fast-paced IT. So it will have a huge potential in our growth rate, our financial growth rate. So then the risk nowadays IT facing, obviously it will be coming to the OT systems also with the integration of IT. And it's a very big target, it's because the know-how and integration and implementation is a long procedure. So it's not set as a short term. It is a long term target to attain this platform. Then, if we go to IT, a comparison between IT and OT. The green, the boxes, you can see that's actually the relevant field in each sector. IT is more focused on information, and it's more open to threats than cyber is a concern for IT. Whereas OT is concerned, OT is static because it doesn't have the dynamism of IT, and the users are very less, and safety is very critical because it directly affects our operations, and safety is the main concern rather than cyber. Then we can go to the upsides of Industry 4. Reduction of cost, improvement of process, interconnection. Interconnection is there in upside and downside. Distributed control. So all this will enhance a stipulated growth rate, and will enhance us to reach our goals in a scheduled way. Whereas the downside is, again, the interconnection is coming as first because it causes all the threats because all the threats through the interconnection interfaces. Then it's coming out from that closed loop to the wider portfolio. Then also wider portfolio means wider attacking surface, and the specific attack will be less because the hackers can go for a less specific attack for the IT system integrated with the OT, and multi-purpose hardware systems also be there to reach the goals. This is a statement from Kaspersky. They says that the major node of these threats is believed to be the computers, emails, and the removable media. So we can go to different types of threats. There are mainly, we can divide into 4. One is cyber terrorism. It's used as for a weapon between the two nations or like that. Then espionage for again, it comes under the political. Then cyber crime is for so making, I would say, making money. Then hacktivism, it's again comes under part of it comes under the different whatever it is, let's say, different stands. So this kind of we can divide the attacks into 4, and we have to understand what kind of attack our system is going to face, and accordingly we have to design the security systems to the ship, plant, or whatever industry concern. We all know about WannaCry, and we all been downloading and installing the patch to Windows, because I personally know we have an instruction from our IT department to carry out this procedure once there is WannaCry being reported. And I would like to say it affected some of the systems of ships also, and also the other plants, governmental organization, and different kind of IT systems. This is a map showing how much the total attack to operation technology systems. It's showing the first two halves, the first half of 2017, second half of 2017, and the first half of 2018. It represents a steady growth in attack. So it's more we go towards the industry 4.0. So the more will be the possibility of attacks. And the geographical distribution, if you see, it's all around the world. No, we cannot say that some countries are exempted, but it's, if we take it all together, it is there all over the world. Then, as per Kaspersky, the evolution of the attacks, we can see around 20,000 malware modification from around 3,000 families, malware families were noticed as of now. This is only from Kaspersky, and different protecting service providers are there. If we add their experience also, it will be higher. Then how we will be thinking, how these guys are, or the hackers, I would like to say, are able to get the information about the system. There is a search engine called Shodan. When I got this presentation, I also went there. It is surprising. If you type one company name, for example, all the interface for your system will be displayed there. Where your server is host, what type of server it is, and how many distribution you have, where is the security installed. All the system will be available to you. If you just go to the website Shodan and search one company, you can also be able to see the details. So, if an attacker want to make a ransomware or any kind of virus, he can go to this site and easily find out the security of the OT system, IT system of the particular organization or the plant, and he can design an attack which can be harmful to the organization. Now, security does not exist. That means 100% security is not achievable, because not only the technical mitigations, or we are educating our people and we are implementing, even if we do all these kind of things, we are not 100% secure. So what we have to do? So we have to assess what is the security threats. So the next slide shows a quote. It says, if you know your enemy and if you know the strength, you can win a war. If you don't know your enemy and if you know yourself, one war you can win and one you will lose. The third and ultimate one is, if you don't know about yourself and you don't know about your enemy, you will be imperiled in the battle. So, yeah, I'm finishing. So how to protect the system? By giving the information to the person. I'm more focusing on to the human factor. We can minimize the potential impact, avoid financial losses, and risk transfer. All this can be achieved by training our OT operators or whoever comes under the OT frame. Sorry. So we can see it's all been discussed already, the financial losses we will have because of the attacks or the damage to the OT system. It's maybe environmental, image reputation, loss of goods, delay in operation, logistical, data breach, people harm. All this can be evolved from an attack, and this will lead to financial loss also. Now, how to identify? We have to monitor, we have to set security objective, we have to do the evaluation of the asset, then we have, if a security problem is noticed, then we have to make the mitigation strategy and do the risk assessment whole system. I'm skipping this. All been discussed. So, just the human factor. 40% of all the attacks been reported because of the negligence and the involvement of human factor. So, we have to go further or focus on the human factor, since the human factor belongs to the operator or whoever handling the system. He is a resource and he is coordinating with the other person, and we have to train them for the best practices, and essential communication about probable attacks should be communicated to them, and work as a team, and role in the OT system shall be defined. Then how we enhance it? Awareness, training, motivation, engagement, and workforce. So all this, I'm just making it fast. So all this should be given in a proper defined system. It's finished. So I'm just finishing with one more. So we can achieve a more or less 100% security by certifying or assessing our systems in which the procedure is in line with the design of the security. So we will certify or we will assess the system. We have to assess the system by design. The procedure is like each stage, it is mentioned in the slide. So this will give a scalable, flexible, progressive, lasting, verifiable, and certifiable type of security system design. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our three presenters. So just to quickly sum up and warm up the floor for questions, I would say that definitely the maritime industry is catching up with the new technology, and this brings new risks. So we see that there's a change from standalone computer systems to integrated computer systems. And this brings the cybersecurity risks. And one of the best ways to maybe approach this is through risk assessment, through the bow-tie models, for example. We heard from Binco that they have actually been working with cybersecurity since 2013. And it all started when they hired some professional hackers to do some penetration tests, and they saw that there was really a need for it. So also using risk-based approach and focusing on being able to restore the systems should they fail. And definitely this starts with everyone in the organization and a firm commitment from the senior management. Last but not least, by our colleague from RINA, as cybersecurity breaches the ICS, information control systems, they continue to increase, and we see a converge, that the IT and OT are converging, and they see that maybe the companies are putting more attention to the IT, but they shouldn't forget about the OT. So I think that was just in a nutshell. But now, let's open the floor for questions. Please introduce yourself, say who you are, and try to be concise in your question to our three presenters. Any questions? There you go.
Check. Good afternoon. I am Captain Sanjay Chabra from Indian Navy. My question is to Mr. Sorensen. Mr. Sorensen, you talked about lack of intrusion on board ships, rather lack of intrusion detection. So in this scenario, where the present generation hackers and the malicious codes are so stealthy that they don't leave any footprint behind, in this scenario, an organization should put what kind of checkpoints that their system has actually been hacked. In short, I just want to know what will be the return of investment in a cyber security threat. Thank you.
Thank you. So according to Microsoft, the average time before knowing that somebody has been in your system is 150 days. So normally the malware is in there for 150 days. A year ago or 2 years ago, it was a bit more. It was around 180 days, and probably because we are now being aware that we need to check the data activity in our networks, that probably has lowered the time that it's in there. Intrusion detection is normally just a piece of software you add to your system, and that's not the hard part of it. The hard part of it is you need people to actually control what that information that piece of software gives you. So you'll have to have some kind of surveillance, either by humans or by a computer that can give you an alarm saying, oh, there's something wrong here, there's activity that we do not expect. So that's probably one of the ways to do it. And it will cost an investment to do so. Did that cover your question?
In this scenario where we have proprietary systems on board marine ships, we have proprietary systems on board marine ships. We've got control systems which are delivered by proprietary, which is proprietary in nature, who may not like to, put a third-party software which is trying to check whether intrusion is taking place or not. What do we do in that case?
First of all, we believe that the data owner is the ship owner. So if it's data that is produced by the ship that is being sent around to entities, either ashore, either the company or class or whatever, it's your data, which means that you are the one, you have the responsibility to control it. And for example, we talked about a lot of remote maintenance, for example, of software, and a lot of shipping companies doesn't allow that. And if the company doesn't allow it, then it's the company's decision. So take control of your information and data.
Can I just add a little bit more to what Mr. Sorensen was saying? As you rightly said, control systems are proprietary. It's very difficult to have ideas there. But then the alternative would be, unless the new software has come up, the alternative would be have it at the entry point. There's somewhere near firewalls. Entry point. So that there it can be detected. There's one solution for that. As you said, a control system software application supplier may not recommend or agree for the ideas to be installed. But we know the entry point is always through net. So we have it at the entry point. That is one way to overcome this.
My name is Kumar, and I am from Pisces CR1, and we are dealing about IT solutions and cybersecurity for the last 3-4 years. In our experience, what you have seen is like the internal attack on the ships, like they don't have the awareness, the sailors who is on board the vessel, they don't have the awareness of the internal attacks, like using the USB sticks and like a lot of stuffs, and which creates or which splits up the issue or start creating an issue inside the ship. So how to get, as BIMCO has some sort of guidelines which is already there, but is there is some course or something to get more awareness for the crew members, how to handle this IT system and how to handle the OT system on board the vessel? Is there will be any course for them in STCW course where they can get more awareness on this?
I hope I understood your question quite well, rightly, because the sound is pretty bad up here. So could you please repeat the last part?
Seafarers to upgrade themselves on the awareness of the cyber securities.
Well, first of all, nobody upgrades themselves. Again, there'll be, at the moment, this is a rising industry. We have class trying to make money out of this. We have security experts trying to make money out of this. And they tend to sell their products in a way where they say that maybe they exaggerate the risks a little bit. We also have a lot of false news. Many of the attacks that are in the press are actually false news, and the incidents we actually know of hasn't been sort of big attacks from the outside. I think most of the things is done by this. Somebody wants to, can I just have a copy of this and that, and then you have the malware in your system. So some of this should be, a lot of it is common sense, as I said. So we need to cut the bullshit from the salespeople and try to get a hold of what do you want as a ship owner to ensure that your ships are secured. And it's a balance. You cannot protect yourself 100%, rightly said. They have hacked into Hillary Clinton's iPhone, for example. It should be one of the most secure places in the world, you should imagine. So balance the risk, take a look at the potential cost, and take it from there. That's the best advice we can give.
Can I answer your questions?
Yeah, please.
Yes, the answer already answered. Yes, BIMCO has come out with certain pamphlets and awareness, what he has shown some time back, which can be put on the ship to see the awareness. That's what you already come up. As part of the class, every society is having, we also have awareness programs for the various levels, operator level, chief engineer, various level. So we have a class, as a class, we have an awareness program to suit this industry. Thank you.
I'm David Birwadkar from Great Eastern. My question is from Mr. Srinivas of IRS. I know that IRS is auditing the ships for the status of cyber security on board ships. So can you just elaborate on the various levels or status what you give to the ships based on, and so what's the criteria for the level which you give to the ships?
I didn't get your last point, please.
You have certain grading which you give to the ships, right? Based on the equipment on board and whatever else. So can you just briefly elaborate how it's done?
The equipment levels, what we talked about.
On the ships,
okay. Okay. So it's a part of the IEC 62443, which talks about control system security. They have graded the systems into 3 categories. 4 levels, security level 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's a new standard coming up, that is IEC 62443 4-2, which talks about component level security. To give an example, we had to rush it the last slide. They have got 7 foundational requirements. They have divided the system into 7 foundational requirements, and each 7 foundation requirement expand to 56 system requirements. It's a bit complicated. I will tell you, give an example. For example, the first foundation requirement is authentication of the user. One requirement. There's one more requirement, like 7 requirements. Under each requirement, you have got a further steps. Let us say, what do you want to authenticate? Human user, software, so on. Let us talk about human user. That means there are guidelines now available in the draft form to say whether what level of security is required. We go back to the example again. He says the level 1 human user, the system should be provided, a component should have a facility to identify the user. Suppose it's an engine room, you have got a console, alarm monitoring system is there. You can have a username as engine room and password as chief engineer. It's fine. As far as if you perceive the risk at the engine room is less for the systems what you have on board, it is fine. But you feel that is not enough. You need to have a higher level because you've got a lot of other remote control systems in engine room because risk level is high. Then you go for level 2, which says each user has to be uniquely identified. That means it cannot be a chief engineer with engine room. It has to be uniquely. The third level says, suppose someone is trying to access from the remote, then every untrusted network that is not part of your own network, he has to identify 2 times.
I'll tell you. Okay. Okay.
He has to identify 2 times. A typical example I can give you is banking transactions, what we do, net banking. You username and password you give, but when you are making a transaction, high-level transaction, an OTP comes to your mobile. That is the second level of authentication. Same thing is done. And the fourth level is any network, trusted or untrusted, when someone is coming to, you have a fourth level. So there are about 56 such requirements are there at component level, likely to be released by ISA, that is Internet Standard of Automation. Later on we'll take an IEC, which will, and the class societies or will be, any third party will be verifying that, and depending on the risk assessment, whether your particular system or needs what level, it has to be put in place. The idea of bringing that into forum today is, tomorrow, if not today, the market will be having those systems. Then it is up to ship owners to recognize what level they want. Because as a vendor, I would like to sell off whatever I have. It is like you require a distribution board for accommodation. I may sell IP44 because I'm having it, whereas you require only IP20 there. So that is the reason of bringing it here. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
One more question, last one there.
Good afternoon. My name is Santosh. I'm from the Indian Register of Shipping. So my question to the panel is, I end up interacting with a lot of owners and the managers. Do you think more needs to be done to increase the awareness of cybersecurity within the maritime sector? Essentially because we hear a lot of cybersecurity buzz around, but when it comes to the maritime sector, most of the managers, senior guys you meet, they somehow do not kind of understand or do not acknowledge the gravity of the impact of cybersecurity on board ships. So do you think more needs to be done in terms of awareness or any other initiatives to address this?
Very briefly, maybe each of you can say comments.
Okay, one before I pass on to him. One thing is awareness lack is because unless there is a risk, I know incident, my awareness also doesn't really have a weightage. Information sharing as far as security is concerned in maritime field is very, very less. In fact, there was one meeting happened, one seminar happened just 3 days back in Dubai, where Airbus CEO and Boeing, where they have a common cybersecurity platform for reporting the incidents, they remarked, in the maritime field, the people reporting incidents are very few, for various reasons, maybe it's chartering reasons or whatever reasons. Whereas in Boeing and Airbus, they work together because they see any incident coming in one area is an incident to the industry. It is not a particular person. Because I don't perceive a threat, my awareness level is also low, my view.
Yeah, so awareness comes at many levels. 5 years ago, when we talked about cyber, people went blank in their eyes. There was no recognition of this was a problem. It's better now. People are now aware that there is a problem. One of the things when we went out on board the ship and did the penetration testing, we also interviewed the ship's crews. And they were quite nervous about this because they said, "Oh, we do not know anything about this. So what can we do?" And of course, that some of them did because we found loose HBI connections behind the panels of the ship and things like that. So of course, some of them knows about it. But we need to educate and train them. We need to take into the business. So whenever we talk to an agent, we need to ask them, are you aware of cyber risks? Have you done anything at your end? We need to ensure that the ports also have a certain level of risk management and are aware of this. So it's all of us. It cannot be done by the ship owner alone. It's the whole industry. We need to be aware, and we need to ensure ourselves that we actually know at least the fundamentals of not being tricked by somebody, a spam mail or whatever. Thank you.
The awareness basically based on the level of security we plan to implement. It should be identified by the design of security and how we proceed towards the level of security achievable. Accordingly, we can give the awareness to the technicians or operator who are doing their process. So we cannot generally apply the awareness to the whole process. For example, from company to company, it will change. So we have to set the level of security we are going to design, and accordingly, the awareness and training programs can be planned. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much then. I think we've finished. Thank you so much for your questions.
Yeah, I would like to thank Christina and all the panelists for a wonderful job they've done, and as a small moment of our appreciation, would like to give a memento to each of them. So Christina, can you just come? So, Mr. Srinivas, you can come over. Mr. Srinivas. Mr. Sorensen. Check the name. Check the name. And Mr. Kuzhimayil. Come, Naseem. Thank you.